The following is an excerpt from Reasonable Risk Podcast, Episode 16, BADvertising, with the Lodo Drum Guy. For the full episode, please visit reasonablerisktpodcast.com or subscribe on iTunes. My guest this week is Pete Isakovich, aka the Lodo Drum Guy. What's even better than flying under the radar of your competitors, turning their trolling into your opportunity? But rather than telling you more at this point, I'll let you hear it for yourself. So now, without further bullshit, is my conversation with Pete Isakovich. So today, Reasonable Risk is venturing beyond the risk hole. We're recording from the Drum Loft, just a few blocks down from Coors Field in Denver.
Lodo Drum Guy.
Yeah. Well, your promotion will get in here. Believe me, the whole fucking episode. So the Lodo Drum Loft, as you've been hearing, is this is the home of Lodo Drum Guy. Lodo Drum Guy was named the best place to buy used musical instruments in Denver by Westword. When last year, just this past year,
yeah,
right?
Last year, 2016.
Yeah, which, and I know most of my listeners aren't in Denver. Westword is the premier independent paper in town, so it's a big deal. And Lodo Drum Guy is also the professional moniker of my buddy Pete Isakovich. We go back years and years. We went to grad school together at USC, Marshall School of Business. And we share an entrepreneurial bent and a tendency to go against the grain. And we both love...
We basically took a lot of film electives.
We did.
Because it's more fun than accounting.
It was way more fun than accounting. And
we learned a lot more about accounting.
Well, exactly. That's a whole nother show. Topic for another episode. Well, actually, we should do Hollywood accounting sometime. That was a great...
talk about a work of fiction.
Yeah, exactly. The financial statement of any film is a work of fiction. Tell us a little bit about Lodo Drum Guy, and just for everyone to know, I'm going to post some pictures of the place. We'll link to the LodoDrumGuy.com site because you got to see it. We are surrounded by stacks of incredible drum kits and various other things, amps, speakers, and actually a little club setup.
Yeah, well, I started doing recordings here now. What can I tell you? This whole business is an accident. I should probably start out by saying I'm not a drummer. When I got into this, I truly had no idea what I was doing, which is exactly why this happened.
Yes, tell us the story of the genesis of Lodo Drum Guy.
About 9 years ago, it was a horrible time for me. I was going through a hideous divorce. I was out of work. You might remember 08, 09, we had that recession. So 19 months I was unemployed. Yeah,
and being Pete also is in the real estate business, and wow, was it fucking terrible.
Dead.
There was that was actually before I got into the real estate business. It was brutal.
It was brutal. There were no fees to be earned, and plus I had just moved here from Los Angeles. My ex-wife brought my kid to Colorado, and it's kind of a long, dramatic story, but basically my number one driver for the last 2 decades has been to be my daughter's father and to be really involved in her life. And there was a whole lot of drama going on with the divorce that caused a lot of moving from coast to coast, from city to city, because I was committed to being with my kid. And so about 9 years ago, I was pretty much financially at rock bottom. I had nothing. I was sleeping on a friend's couch.
Not my couch, thankfully.
No, I was on another friend's couch. Ironically, we're not friends anymore. Well, we're friends on Facebook, but you know how that is.
I don't know if I.
It's more like monitored supervision than friendship, really.
Not coincidentally.
Yeah. So it was, it was around this time that my daughter asked me for a drum set. And, again, my life sucked, her life sucked, and I was desperate to find something that she could be good at. And so I set out to go and get her a drum set. And the reality is I couldn't afford anything. I mean, really, to give your kid a legitimate shot at playing drums, you need to spend about $1,000, $1,200. You want to get good drum kit, decent shells. You want to put good heads on it that record well. And you also want to put good cymbals on. And
that's actually, that's like any musical instrument.
Sure.
I mean, both, I play bass, Pete plays guitar. And when you're starting out playing any kind of instrument, if you buy a shit instrument, it is so much harder to learn on,
and you're
going to get frustrated, and you're going to fucking quit.
Right, it inspires you to quit.
It doesn't mean you need a professional level instrument, but you need a good quality student instrument.
I got to tell you, I almost think you do need a professional level instrument because it just everything on the instrument is better. The tone, the action, the way it plays. So anyway, you need to spend some money. It's expensive.
You do.
So
and you were looking at a bigger outlay than you could do.
Well, it was impossible. I remember I was at a store and I got my head around the fact that the drums were $700, and I go to buy it on credit, which I didn't have, thank God. And the guy's like, well, hold on, we still need to pick out hardware, we still need to pick out cymbals, and I just realized it wasn't going to happen, and that wasn't a good answer for me. I was committed to getting my kid rocking. I was committed to finding something that, for making this happen for her. We were at that point where that was really my critical driver. So I had to figure out a way to get her rocking, even though I was broke. My buddy recommended that I look on Craigslist, and I said, good idea. And I got on Craigslist and I found this starter drum set for $100. Show up to the guy's house. The guy was wasted. The drums were filthy. I had $63 in my wallet to my name, and 10 minutes later, I'm driving home with these drums. I get to my house, I set them up, I clean them, a lot of Windex, and I make them all shiny and nice and give them to my kid. And she was excited, and she sits behind them and quite literally vanished. I mean, in retrospect, it was this 80s.
How old was
she was 9.
Then?
Yeah,
she
was 9.
Yeah, she was
like
young.
4'8", And the kit that I bought had like this 24-inch bass and these extra deep, like hair metal type toms, and it was just this monster tall.
You're buying Tommy Lee's
pretty much,
kit.
And so she's sitting by there, and like her eyes are like peeking over the bass drum, and I realized that this wasn't going to work. So I put them back on Craig's for $150 and sold them within an hour. I made $87, and as they taught us in business school, Mike,
that's right.
That's great. And,
well, and you have some history of doing some wheeling and dealing. I mean, I remember back in business school, what were you selling? Yeah, sheets.
Oh, sheets.
Pete's sheets.
Yeah.
Pete's sheets.
Dude, I put myself through business school selling leopard print and zebra print sheets.
Craziest ass looking things.
It was great.
These cheap ass sheets from Indonesia.
From Afghanistan. Actually, I was buying them in Santee Alley. For like $8 a bundle and selling them on eBay for $20.
So you get these drums, you turn them around real quick, and you make over 100% return in like a day. So go from there.
Well, again, that's when a light bulb went off. I bought the wrong thing, but after I cleaned it, and I bought it at the right price. The seller, like I said, was inebriated. There was, pressures there that he was dealing with that I was able to take advantage of, and kind of realized that maybe I could do this a few more times. Maybe there are some other deals out there I can jump on. So I had an unemployment check of $718 is what I was living on at that time, and I took all that money and I went back on Craigslist and I found 2 drum sets. One of them I still have. It's the one that's under the stairs. That was actually the kit that my kids started playing on, and it came with a whole bunch of hardware and some cheap cymbals. And then I found another kit that was a beater but it had really good cymbals. So I bought them both. I traded out the cymbals so my kid would have a legit setup. And then I put the cheap cymbals on a cheap kit, blew it out at a cheap price, got some cash back, and then went out to the market again and started buying and doing all of this. And, you know, it grew from there. And ironically, about 2 months after I started doing this, my daughter basically came to the realization that she hates playing the drums.
Which happens with kids. I mean, they try things, and that's good. They try things.
Right, that's what they're supposed to do. You know, see what you're good at, see what you like, see what you don't like, and build from there. And you know, I by this point, I had some guitars and some basses. You know, I'd show up to someone's house to buy their drums, and they'd be like, "Hey, you want this guitar for $50?" And I'd say, "Sure." And now suddenly I had guitars and basses. So
yeah, you're bundling. You're making good buys by putting things together that the person that has them, it doesn't have value to them, and so you're getting a good price.
Yeah, I'm getting a good price, and but really, what was kind of eye-opening about that was because I had the inventory, it was really easy for me as a parent to tell my kid, look, I don't care if you quit drums, but you have to do something. So if you don't want to play drums, you know, grab a guitar, grab a bass. And so for my daughter, she was able to kind of rip through all of my inventory. She started out on drums, and then she went to bass, drums, and then she went to guitar, did that for a while. And as she put it, she got tired of being assigned like guitar 3 and rhythm guitar parts. And she's like, you know, I'm a chick. No one's taking me seriously as a guitar player. So I'm just going to play lead bass, as she calls it. And she's still a bass player today. But what was critical and eye-opening was
this is an aside, but there are a whole bunch of great women bass players out there right now.
There are.
For whatever reason, we've had this explosion, what's that Australian name? Tal Wickenham or something.
Oh, there's Tal. Yeah, she was touring with Jeff Beck.
Right.
Yeah, right. I remember was showing my kid videos of her going.
Incredible.
So good.
Yeah.
Like
just
ahead of her time. And kind of like, I mean, you watch that as a musician and you're just like, man, I should just quit now because I'll never be there, you know? Like,
yep. Well, I went through that. The same thing in high school. I'm never going to fucking be that good. I'll go to school for finance.
Right. That was but in our defense, I mean, our idols in high school, at least for me, was players like Steve Vai and Paul Gilbert.
Joe Satriani.
Right. And you know what? I still can't play that. I've been playing guitar for a long time. And
I can
that whole sweep arpeggio.
I can play. I could probably manage to get through at least the first section of Satch Boogie.
Right. Until it starts getting tricky.
Until it starts getting crazy.
Yeah. We could all play the first 4 bars of it.
What was the and Nuno Betancourt from Extreme.
Play With Me.
Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee.
Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee. And I mean, those Extreme albums had some killer guitar work.
But, Extreme 2 is a fucking fantastic album.
But kind of getting back, what I realize is by having all of this inventory, it was really easy for me as a parent to let my kid quit one thing and do another thing because there was no financial risk to me. And so, you know, I realized that if you take quitting risk out, what I call quitting risk, if you eliminate that for the parents, it suddenly enables them to introduce their kids to a whole bunch of stuff out there that they normally wouldn't be able to do.
It takes every parent's fear of, I'm going to invest a whole bunch of money in this, and then they're not going to practice or they're not going to be into it, and then, you know, what a waste that was.
I mean, I still hear about it. When I was 4 years old, I wanted a piano, and so my parents ended up, and my mom was a concert pianist, and you know, there's a lot of music in my family, and so they got me a piano, and I played it for 5 minutes, and realized that I didn't want to play Frere Jacques on piano or whatever, you know, minuet in G or whatever it was, and so I quit piano, and I still hear about it, you know, 40 years later, like, we bought you a piano that you quit, and you know, that kind of sucks. And I understand from the parents' point of view, when I was broke, I mean, it's the reality.
It's tough. It is reality.
And, you know, when I was looking at things for my daughter to do, I mean, I started thinking, okay, what's going to be cheap? And so I was looking at sports like field hockey, right? You got shorts, cleats, and a stick. Like how much could that cost, right? And it's $1,600 to join the league for a season, which is insane.
And that's and I don't know because my kids are completely uninterested in sports. They're more into the creative and science stuff. Which is cool too.
There's a lot more money in that too.
And really. But I know from other parents that it is so expensive these days.
It is
with the because there's all the sports is sort of these private club sports instead of like when we were kids. It was like the local park district. You paid $10 for your kid to be in Little League. It's not like that anymore.
No, it's definitely a big business. And so the what it all comes down to is that we blame our kids for having things like ADD. It's not ADD. I think kids, in some cases certainly there's you've got outliers, but by and large,
and there are. I mean, it's not like there aren't medical. Sure. ADD issues, but when people paint with a really broad brush of saying all kids these days are ADD, no, they're not.
No, they're not. They're just kids. They're just trying to figure out what they can do, what they're good at, what they're not good at, and unfortunately, the reality of the world is that it becomes very cost prohibitive for a parent to let a kid chase all of these dreams.
Right. So. How did you, with this business, address that quitting risk?
Well, I do lifetime buybacks. So anything that I sell, when the kid quits, be it in a month or in 4 years, they can bring it back. It's a 30% restocking fee, and I take it back. You see, so those $1,200-$1,400 drum sets that you could buy in the stores, which are really the ones you should be buying if you want to give your kid a legitimate shot at rocking. I sell those for like $600 because I buy them cheap from drunks in the middle of the night, and and also from legitimate sources. Well, they're all legitimate sources, but
some are more legitimate than others.
Some are more intoxicated than others. But so I sell below, I buy below market, I sell below market, and so when the kid changes their mind and they want to go a different direction, I do a 30% restocking fee, so that $1,400 drum set that the parents bought for $600 and now they bring back and I give them back $420 for it. Suddenly it's $180 to rent a professional level kit in
for however long they want.
However long they want. I hope they can bring it back and upgrade if they stick with it.
Right, exactly.
But for the most part, kids do change their mind, and thank God, like looking back, I never wanted I'm so much happier that my daughter wants to be a lawyer than a bass player. Straight up.
Right.
When she asked me for a drum set, and I had visions of her playing arenas, and it kind of looks good for a split second, but then when you actually get into it, it's like I didn't want that life from her. I'm very happy that she's found a different way.
Or if that was what she ended up with, you would have been great with that too.
Sure.
That's just who you are.
What was critical though was that she got to explore and come to the realization, Dad, I don't want to be a drummer. Like, Dad, I can play guitar pretty well, and she's actually, my kid's a pretty proficient bass player. She can play the entire Tool catalog, 12 years old, not come home from work, and all she would be playing literally constantly were those Iron Maiden triplets. I guess I just never realized how bass heavy Iron Maiden was until my kid discovered. But that band is the bass player, from the writing to
Steve Harris. I actually just bought a Steve Harris, the Ibanez 1981 Ibanez Roadster that he is shown playing in the Run to the Hills video.
Wow.
I just bought that. Well, not the one that he had, but the same exact bass.
Yeah, you didn't buy it here? What's wrong with you, man?
If you had
it, a good deal.
If you had it and you were going to sell it to me for $250, I sure would have.
Oh my gosh! See, and deals like that are everywhere, and parents don't have time to go and find all of those. They don't have time to deal with the nonsense.
They don't have the knowledge.
And they don't have the knowledge
of what they should be looking for.
Right. And so what I've tried to do, kind of understanding that, with the driver being to get kids rocking, is that if I buy everything That's, everything that I buy is quality gear that either a kid or, a playing musician would want to have, would want to use. And so I just buy all of it. And
right, because if you buy good stuff, when we're talking about instruments, they don't really depreciate once they've gone out of retail. Once they've gone out of retail the first time, you buy it at
some store,
a big drum shop. Well, their markup on it is 100%, and the minute it's out the door, you're losing 40%.
You're losing even more. I mean,
but then it's not going down further if it's still in good shape.
Correct. And that's what I do. I mean, every piece of gear that comes through here, for the most part, there's some issue. There'll be a cracked cymbal, or it needs new heads, or they're always dirty, they're always neglected. So the value that I add is getting those instruments back into the, tour ready, stage ready condition that they need to be. So, like my guitars, for example, that I sell, they all go to my luthier, and he's got standing orders. So the first time he set up my guitar, he goes, so how do you like your action? And I go, imagine David Coverdale just sent me $4 million to lay the tracks down for the next Whitesnake album. That's how I want my action. And so it's set up like credit card thin all the way from 0 to 24. And it plays better. And suddenly, I guess, setting up an instrument is a critical part of that instrument playing the way it should. So,
absolutely.
My $150 guitars are set up to play like my customs, and my customs are set up to play like my customs. And
so what you're doing is, you're offering value and you're undercutting all the competition.
Right.
So that doesn't make the competitors too happy.
No, the competitors hate me.
How did tell us how you got the name Lodo Drum Guy?
Well, that's actually a pretty funny story, because when this business first started, I was working out of a kind of a rough condo in Aurora. I was working out of my basement, and when I moved into the loft, after, I won custody of my kid, my bankruptcy was behind me, there were a lot of things that had closed. And then I found this place, I moved in here, and, again, as you know, I'm a real estate guy. So, at that point I had some music gear, but wasn't really planning on turning this into what it's become. But I did, move into my place, and you can see it's pretty cool. And so I would start setting up my kits and taking pictures, and I'd put them on Craigslist, and that my location was Lodo. And these posts started appearing, watch out for that crook in Lodo, watch out for that guy down in Lodo, that drum guy in Lodo. And, these hateful posts actually started escalating over the years. It started out pretty low key, but towards the end, there'd be pornographic pictures. One of the
really,
yeah, one of the most successful ads that my competition placed for me of all time.
And I just want to point out what you said there.
All right.
That your competition placed for you.
Oh, I can't thank them enough. Let me backtrack a little and build up to this.
Yes.
So the hate talk, my competition, and there's other guys on Craigslist that try to do what I do on a much smaller scale, and there's also a lot of shady operators on Craigslist as well that. They kind of saw that I was moving inventory, and I think a combination of jealousy and whatnot kind of got them all talking shit. And so,
which is always
was great.
Which is always what happens when somebody new comes into a market and disrupts it.
Right.
Yeah. The existing market doesn't like that.
No, and my prices, because I was putting my pressure on my supply chain, buy cheap or sell cheap. I was still profitable, even though I was undercutting everybody. Because again, my driver wasn't to, realize market price. My driver was to get this instrument into the hands of a kid so that it would change that kid's life. My daughter went from being a poster child for a broken situation, for a difficult situation, to earning a full ride to USC as a trustee scholar. And she got the scholarship. It had nothing to do with music. It was because of academics and community leadership. And, when she quit playing music, I still have the email from her, 12 years old, subject line, "My Life." And she goes, "Dad, I decided I want to be a corporate antitrust attorney with a focus on breaking cartels and monopolies." And now, this last summer, she had an
at 12 years
old. 12
old.
years old. I remember,
I think I wanted to be a race car driver.
Yeah, I'm like, you sure you don't want to be a butterfly princess or whatever the hell 12-year-old girls want to be? like, with your bling and rhinestone phone.
Don't you want to be Hannah Montana?
Kind of. No, she never wanted that. She was never. Things hadn't gone that far down, but. So it had a life-changing impact on my kid, and it had a life-changing impact on me. And so, what I do, it's, I guess you could call it I'm a corporation. It's profitable, but it's really more of a calling, and it's more of a mission to get kids rocking. And so, as these people started putting up these hate posts, I tried responding to them saying, I'm trying to do a good thing here and change, enable kids to get rocking. And frankly, every time I would respond to any of these posts, it would get worse and worse. And it was always referring to me like that guy in Lodo, watch out for that drum guy in Lodo. And I was actually at a Guitar Center, completely anonymous in the drum department. And, one of the salespeople there slammed the phone down and says, "That fucking Lodo drum guy," and stormed out from behind the counter. And I heard this, and I'm like, "That's a great name." I go, that's.
And you're like,
that's the first thing I bought from Guitar Center.
He's fucking pissed at me.
Yeah, but I got on GoDaddy, and the name, believe it or not, Lodo Drum Guy was available. I'm surprised.
Shocked.
And so I bought the domain name. And once I bought the domain name, I was able to see what my traffic was like, and so in the early days of getting the site up, I was getting 12 hits, 18 hits. I remember the first time I got like 47 hits, and I was doing cartwheels. I'm like, whoa, I'm going viral, and
Yep. It's the way I feel about every new listener to this show.
And so, somebody, I'm pretty sure I know who it is. And even if I don't know exactly who it is, I know what group of people it was. But somebody put up a post that it was two monkeys having sex, was the picture. And the caption under the picture was, "Lodo Drum Guy will be with you when he's done with his customer."
Classy.
It drove $7,800 in sales that day, about 15 times the norm. It was far and away, for about a year and a half, a record sales day.
Because people had seen this,
people were coming here
that alerted them to the fact that you existed.
Right. And so they'd be like, they have the two monkeys having sex. They're like, what the hell is this? And then they visit the website, and then they're like, holy shit, this guy's got some killer deals, and he does lifetime buybacks. And, I had like the graph of the spike of traffic, 12, 18, 42, 470,
Right.
And so, and that it triggered an idea that, or just, that there's no such thing as bad publicity. And so I actually took a picture of my traffic graph, and I put up my own ad on Craigslist that read, I could probably find the ad, but it read something like, "Thank you, volunteers." And I proceed in the ad to explain to them what they had done, how much traffic they'd driven me, what I did in sales. And I'm like, man, if you guys had worked here, I would have paid you about $1,400 in commissions, but I ain't paying you nothing. Keep up the good work. You're the best volunteers I could ever have asked for. And overnight,
spectacular.
Overnight, the hate stopped, and my sales went down. It was noticeable,
Right.
That
it's a short-term effect because people saw it and there was a drive to your site, and then people didn't see it anymore.
So now I'm just
back down.
One more competitor, just kind of in the mix, not sticking out. So that's when I started a hate campaign against myself. Like I found a picture of a guy holding his fingers on his forehead like an L, like that loser sign, right? And then I photoshopped, Lodo Drum Guy off of that L, and I would write an ad that said something like, "That asshole just saved me $300. What a jerk!" And I'd post that. And my sales started going back up again. So
it's just such a great strategy of, turning a troll's actions against themselves.
Oh, it turned, well, not against itself, but totally to my benefit. I mean, I realized that if you put kind of a visually shocking post, like I had a picture of a horse's ass once, and it said, Lodo Drum Guy has the best prices in the neighborhood, right? And, so people would come here to buy drums, and they'd be like, who's this guy putting up these posts about you? And I'm like, I don't know. He's probably some, it's me. I'm doing
of course.
It, right? And don't get me wrong, there's still that activity that goes on. I mean, there's people that flag my ads. And,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my competition still hates me. But it's okay, because one by one they're closing their doors. Because the reality is that the service that I provide, my gear is the best gear, because I don't buy crappy gear. I buy the best stuff that I can, and I buy everything. And so I'll buy 20 drum sets so that I can resell 17 of them to kids and musicians, and then 3 of them get parted out and pieced out on eBay. And so there's no crap here. Everything here is, like I said, stage ready and high end and put together with the intent, frankly, hopefully that it comes back, because I'm selling it. Because what separates me from every other retailer is that I make my money when I buy it, not when I sell it. When a musician comes to see me, that is not the profit event. I've already made the profit when I left some guy's house in the middle of the night, and I ended up buying it for 20 cents on the
cash,
dollar. Right.
And you were there, had the cash, made a deal with him. He got what he wanted, which was some quick cash. You got something you could spiffy up and make a better asset.
Right. And I still turn around and sell it below market. So I got to tell you, in some ways, I kind of hope all my instruments come back. And they're coming back now, 30, 40 of them a month, as kids play a different instrument, or they want to play lacrosse, or they join the military. I mean, these things, this is real life.
Right. Or with, I know you do a lot of work with musicians in town, and musicians move. And they tour. And
they change their mind. I mean, what a finicky demographic. I mean, getting to like the musicians, for like a ride cymbal, for example. A musician sees a ride cymbal, $500, and is like, oh my God, that's the ride I got to have. So they go pay the $500, they get the ride, they play it, and they realize, this isn't exactly what I wanted, what I needed. It's too late to return it. And to sell it on the secondary market, they're going to get murdered, right? Because the buyers in the secondary market don't have alternatives. They don't have the ability to go and test that one and compare it to 30 others like they do in a store. And so all of these factors ultimately lead to a low sales price. And then they have to go buy another ride. So they bought it for $5, they sold it for $150, so they're down $350, and now they got to go buy another one for $500. So every time a drummer needs a different ride cymbal, it's an $850,000 event.
Right.
Well, my policy is,
and just to clarify, that was $850 to $1,000, not an $850,000 event.
No, that's they're expensive, but they're not that expensive. So you're looking at this $850 event, and the policy I have is, you've got a $500 ride that isn't working. I've got 50 of them. So bring yours in. If I've got one that works better, we trade it. Give me $40, $60. Maybe a little bit more if mine's more expensive.
Right, depends on the value. Maybe I give you some
if yours is more expensive. But it turns into a $50, $60 problem, or a $50, $60 solution. So
to a $900 problem.
Right. So I've got musicians that they used to play heavy metal. Now they're playing country. Well, you can't play You can't play Linda Ronstadt covers with Black Sabbath's kit, without it sounding wrong. And it
might be interesting.
It would like a drop D, Linda Ronstadt tribute band.
Okay, I want to hear that. I want to hear that. Back on your advertising strategy a little bit. You had coined a term for what you were doing.
Well, I think I'm going to write a book about this whole thing called BADvertising, which is, BADvertising, how hate drove sales. Because what's really kind of an interesting phenom is that, I don't know if it's that the public has short memory, or if it's that the public likes drama. You know, it's maybe that's why
I
shows
think,
like Current Affair and like those kinds of things.
Well, and
Jerry Springer, like the shock value of stuff like that.
Well, and
interesting.
the Twitter wars and drama, and there's always a Facebook war in any group.
I mean, I love reading the comments, like when somebody posts something controversial and then it's got like 1,000 comments that are equally ignorant. I mean, that's the best part is reading the shit talk.
Exactly. Visit the YouTube comment section of most videos, and you'll see shit you didn't think humans could come up with. So BADvertising.
BADvertising, and the concept is that, any publicity is good publicity. And what really put me on the map and separated me from everyone else was that I just had so much more advertising. There were so many people talking about me, and my competition in their effort to discredit me and slam me and
and this was
hurt my credibility.
This is all social, mostly free advertising, right? Or were you buying PPC ads and that sort of thing?
I have not spent a dime on advertising since I started.
There we go.
I mean, I'm getting 40,000 hits a month on my website now, and I truly could not have done it without the help of my jealous competition. That was just spewing so much hate and talking so much shit and so frequently. I mean, 3, 4, 5 times a day. I mean, I would have had to spend $15,000 a month to get that kind of radio time that these guys are doing for free. I didn't have to pay them. I mean, now I'm looking to hire someone to manage my social media. I wish these assholes would come out of the woodwork because I'd hire them. I mean, they were excellent in building my brand, even though it was completely inadvertent. And I guess I realized that, people, they see something shocking, but the content of the shock dissolves, I think, pretty quickly.
Yeah, and because we're subjected to so much of it.
Right. And so what they end up left with in their head is that there's this Lodo Drum Guy.
Right.
And that's all they know.
Yep.
And then
that's all they need to know.
And that's all I want them to know.
And that actually, I mean, I think that leads us to a good place for you to just, tell everybody where they can find you and find your kits. And I wanted to mention too, if there's any drummers out there looking for cymbals, he has every cymbal.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much every cymbal recorded extremely high quality so that you can actually hear the cymbal that you'll buy. So where can people find you? Online, Facebook, Twitter, where can people find you?
Lodo Drum Guy. Everything. Facebook, LodoDrumGuy.com. My YouTube channel is Lodo Drum Guy. My video production work, I started doing producing bands and videos in my space because the acoustics in here are bitching. That's Lodo Drum Guy Presents. But basically, if you do a Google search of Lodo Drum Guy, you'll find all of it. And I'm pretty active on Facebook. And certainly my website is the best place to get started. Join the mailing list, and I can give you releases of new gear as it comes in.
It's a great story because, this started out with Pete looking to buy a drum kit for his daughter. And now it's a business with innovations.
I've got 3,500 instruments in circulation.
It's come from something, and you still have that core of where you started with it.
Oh, I just want to get everybody rocking.
The world would be a hell of a lot better place if everyone rocked a little harder, right?
Just think of how good the bands would be.
Yeah.
It was, again, I mean, it took my daughter from being the poster child of a broken situation to a full ride academic, and that dream of her being a corporate attorney. I mean, this summer she had a paid internship at a top firm doing exactly what she wants to do. 18 years old, dude.
Yeah, it's
so the confidence that she got on stage. 10 years old, she was at Castleman's. Because after she quit music, she joined the debate team, and she goes, "Dad, I played a bass solo in front of 900 people at Castleman's, and I brought the roof down, and now I walk into a room." And there's 2 judges in there, and I own the room.
She's confident.
Dude, that confidence, that gift of confidence is a game changer. And parents really need give that to their kids. And
it's to whatever extent I think a parent can, financially and with
that's where I come in.
With their situations, if it's music, that's where you come in. If it's sports, hopefully they're just supporting them in whatever it is the kid wants to explore. I think we both share that.
You've got kids too.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
we tell our kids these fucked up things. We tell them things like, if you work hard, one day you're going to be a doctor, or even worse, we tell them like, you could be anything you want to be.
Yep.
And man, I can't.
Which really isn't true. It's just not true.
I just can't think of a more stressful thing to drop on an 8-year-old than some 40-year story arc that won't come true.
Yep.
That does not begin with Once Upon a Time. That definitely won't end with Happily Ever After. And, with music, and I'm not talking music theory, because that shit is harder than astrophysics,
I took AP music theory in high school.
Like flattening the 11th.
Fucking
what are you talking?
brutal.
It was horrible.
That was the hardest test I have ever taken in my life.
But you tell a kid, listen, learn this Green Day song. They work on it for a week. At the end of the week, they get together with some friends. They rock it. People clap.
Well, and because it's
man.
a Green Day song, within a week they sound just as good as Green Day.
and they've also effectively learned like 3/4 of the Green Day catalog.
Right.
They just got to get that C# bar chord down, and boom, it's off to the races.
Exactly. Well, I think we need to wrap it up here. So I want to.
Am I rambling?
No. And you know what? All the rambling has been great. Thanks, Pete Isakovich, the Lodo Drum Guy. Reasonable Risk is a production of Indie Grace LLC. All rights reserved.